Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of JD Talks NASCAR. It's been a long time. I went ahead and took my break from podcasting a couple weeks early as NASCAR was off for 2, 3 weeks. They are now back, and man, did they not waste any time at all on getting back into things as Richmond unfolded on Sunday night. I could sit here and talk about a race recap, um, you know, but I don't think anybody's interested in hearing me talk about a race recap. Um, you know, I think uh, NASCAR hit it out of the park with the prime and option tire. That's one thing I will say about the race in general. Getting right into things, I think that they finally found their they found it at Bristol, but to a bigger extent, a more dramatic extent. I think they found a tire that works at short tracks, and I think you saw that again this week with the prime and option tire. I would expect teams to have it for every short track for the rest of the year. I'm not sure about Phoenix. We will see, of course, the championship race. I think that's an interesting conversation you can have. I mean, I don't really see any problem with it. Teams have already been planning for it at every short track. They know that now from now on should be the prime and option tire. So I'm really excited for that. I thought it even before the craziness at the end of the race, I thought it provided a much better race. There wasn't any, well, I will say many cautions still, but I think as far as racing wise, there was multiple grooves on the track throughout the night. You could pass pretty easily. I mean, it wasn't super hard, and it wasn't as hard as normal to pass. So I really thought NASCAR did a great job with the prime and option tire. I will say that about the race recap, but you know, I think there's one thing that most of you all are tuning into, and it's the one thing that I've been wanting to talk about since Sunday night. I almost went live right after the race, but I kind of wanted to, I wanted to see the final result of NASCAR's penalties and what they decided to do. And without a doubt, they made the correct call in taking Austin Dillon's playoff berth away. But we'll get into it. We'll get into that. We'll get into my opinion on it. But to start things off, um, I'm going to pick up where I think I need to. Austin Dillon was on his way to a fair and square win. He was. He tracked down Denny. He was faster than Denny there at the end of that race, and passed him. Denny made him work for it, but Austin Dillon passed him clean and was on his way to a very impressive win. I mean, I think that's the first weekend of. Hold on, let me scoot my mic back here just a little bit. Um, I think that was Austin Dillon's first weekend, like team wise, just dominating the weekend, doing a really good job throughout the weekend. Not a fluke win. The other wins in his career have kind of been fluky. Super speedways or the fuel mileage race at Texas, kind of been fluky. He went out, and before the green white checkered, it looked like he was going to earn this win. Looked like he was fastest all weekend. And then his team showed up when it mattered. So, but that's not how it ended up happening. But I want to shout out the three team for that. They have been the 8 and the 3 both. RCR cars have been dreadful to watch all year long. Kyle Busch has been better. It seems like he runs well, and then something crazy will happen. He'll get into a wreck, or something will break on the car, or just not a good year for those guys. And Austin Dillon had a chance to get himself into the playoffs. But, like I said, tracked down Denny, passed him clean, and with 2 to go, he's about to lap Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Ryan Preece, and looks like Ricky Stenhouse just got loose going into turn 1. Slid right up into Ryan Preece. I don't think it was anything on purpose, but I do not see how in that situation you're pushing that hard with 2 to go. Had to be heartbreaking for that 3 team. But, Ricky slides up into Pre, spins him right in front of Austin Dillon, which he did a good job of avoiding that wreck. But very, very bad luck for him as the caution flies with two to go. It looks like he was on his way to an easy win. And then that happens. Everybody pits. And the three team, once again, does a great job of getting Austin out into the lead. Denny had the number one pit stall. I thought, as good as Denny's crew's been all year long, I felt like he was in a very good spot coming in second. There was a pretty big gap because Austin Dillon was so fast. There was a pretty big gap entering pit road. So, the crew would have had to come up with a very phenomenal stop, but I thought the number one pit stall would help him. It ends up not. He actually loses a spot, and Joey Logano jumps up to second, exiting the pit. So you've got Austin Dillon first, Logano second, and Denny third. And melee ensues thereafter. The restart. And this is all coming from a guy looking at this as an outsider. You all know Denny's my guy. I classify myself as the biggest Denny Hamlin fan, probably in NASCAR. I don't have to go through my history lesson. You all know I've been a fan of him since '07 when he came into the sport, and took the NASCAR Cup Series by storm. Immediately hopped in Joe Gibbs cars and won races, and ever since then I've been a huge fan of his. But I'm looking at this objectively as possible. I'm looking at it as if I wasn't a fan of any of these guys. I do not. I think you all know my thoughts about Joey Logano. Not a fan, to say the least, but I just mean on the racetrack, of course. All these guys that I've met, every NASCAR driver I've met has been super nice in person, but I'm talking about on the track. Not a fan of Logano and his antics, dating back to I think it was 2013, where he intentionally wrecked Denny at Auto Club and broke Denny's back. Ever since then, not been a fan. But that's a story for another day. That's all to say, I'm looking at this objectively as possible. And I normally do not cuss on my podcast, but, I think I'm about to. Because I'm still livid. I'm still livid. I know a lot of people, it's Wednesday, are probably over it, but I'm livid about what happened. It's a mockery. It's an absolute mockery to the sport that I love. What ensued on Sunday night, but um, we're getting to it. The restart happens. Joey Logano does an excellent job of firing off. Um, Austin Dillon decided to pick the inside, Logano on the outside. I thought right then going into one, if anything, Austin Dillon might have kind of rubbed Logano up the track, kind of hit him, and kind of leaned on him, and that would have been perfectly fine. I honestly thought when that would happen, Denny would go under them both and steal the win, but um, Logano just got a heck of a restart, an absolute awesome restart, and Austin Dillon hadn't been good on restarts all night long. Matter of fact, he's one of the worst this year on restarts in the entire Cup Series. I think he's like 32nd or 33rd or something like that. They said before this restart. And we saw it once again. Logano beats him fair and square on the restart, gets out to a sizable advantage, and one to go. Logano, looks like it's his race to win. I thought it was over at that point. I thought, well, Austin Dillon had it. He had his playoff spot. He had his Cinderella story. But Logano earned it on that restart. We'll pack up and we'll go to Michigan next week, where I hope Denny can win. I'll take a third place finish. That's not what happened at all. Okay, it was the exact opposite. You know, Logano had a huge lead on Dillon going into 3 and 4, and in my opinion, Austin Dillon had no, like, there was no way he was making that corner. I mean, there was no way he was making that corner without absolutely taking Logano out. And, that's exactly what happened. Did not let off whatsoever. Looked at the SMT. It looks like he did not let off. Looked like he was full throttle send into 3 and 4 and cleans Logano out, which, is similar. That's the I don't know. Like, I was still absolutely appalled by that move. I do not agree with it. I think it was a mockery. But you know, if you're going to bump and run somebody, I think, and I don't think NASCAR's trying to outlaw the bump and run. So I've saw that several times since the announcement has came about the penalties. I totally disagree with that. That's not what they are doing. There is a difference in a bump and run when you're right up next to a guy's bumper and you move him up the track, or say you move him up the track and he spins. That is totally different, in my opinion, than driving in 50 car lengths too deep and just cleaning a guy out. Those are two different things. It's just that I don't think people are differentiating those things. Those are two totally different things. I think, NASCAR was built on the bump and run type action. They weren't built on completely cleaning a guy out, but they're not doing away with that. I think that's a ridiculous claim to even say that they are. They are trying to outlaw the driving in 50 car lengths too deep, wrecking a guy for the win. And I think they did that. I will say with their uh penalty, which I'm going to get into, but I think they've done a great job. I think it was a great call. Anyway, continuing on the recap. Logano goes spinning. Austin Dillon, of course, since he didn't make the corner, goes sliding up the track. And here comes Denny Hamlin on the bottom. And it looks like he's going to steal a win because of Austin Dillon's stupidity, his chicken shit move, as I called it. I still think that. I think it was completely garbage on Logano. And then I think this move that I'm about to talk about was even more garbage. As a NASCAR, I can't imagine what everyone was feeling on Sunday night, especially Denny and Joey. They had to be ultimately embarrassed for the sport. But Joey goes spinning. Austin Dillon goes up the track. Denny looks like he's going to steal it. And all of a sudden, and you can say what you want. I'm going to give my opinion. It's my podcast, but we can disagree. The SMT data says Austin Dillon took a hard left. And I know there's been speculation. He claimed in all his interviews he didn't. And this is after the spotter, you can hear in the audio, says, wreck him, wreck him, wreck him. Completely uncalled for. Also chicken shit. As a spotter, you cannot be in your driver's ear telling him to wreck a guy, especially right hook a guy into the fence. I don't care if it's for a win. I don't care if it's for a playoff spot. That is horse crap. These spotters, man, and I love some of them. I love Freddie Kraft, Bubba Spotter. I love the guys on DBC, but man, you could not tell a guy to just flat out wreck, right hook someone into the fence. I just don't agree with that. I think it's uncalled for. I think you've got to leave it up to these drivers to decide what they want to do. And, the Austin Dillon spotter ends up getting suspended for 3 races, which is I'm fine with. I'd been fine if they'd suspended him for the rest of the season. Just completely uncalled for. But Dillon right hooks Denny into the wall, absolutely destroys his car, and it looks like Austin Dillon wins. They place Denny in second, freeze the field right when the caution dropped. You see Tyler Reddick give Austin Dillon a little shot going into one there after the checkered. Definitely some history there. Tyler Reddick, of course, drove for RCR before going to 2311. Those two, I get the vibes they don't have the best relationship, but that all happened right in front of Tyler Reddick, and he was not happy about it. So I think the garage as a whole, I think I would be shocked if anybody in the garage was okay with that move. I just do not see it. Any of them. I don't see any of them being okay with what happened there. That's why I think now we're going to get into what the outcome was. The outcome is Austin Dillon does win. He gets to keep that win. Penalties announced today, but he doesn't get the playoff berth with it. And I think that is number one, the most important thing out of all this. I think, if you, as NASCAR, if you set the precedent, um, wrecking someone for a win, what is to stop them from at Phoenix, the Final Four? What's to stop one of them from wrecking 3 other guys to win it? I mean, there's nothing stopping that until now. Now there is. You've set the precedent. If you right hook a guy for a win, if you drive in 50 car lengths too deep for a win, you're not getting credit for that. In the history books, Austin Dillon will still get the credit for it, but his playoff spot is no more unless he goes out and wins another race. And I couldn't be more proud of NASCAR. One for the option prime tire this weekend, and now today the result of the penalty. You know, I I could have even been for a DQ, and I know some people are probably thinking that's asinine and laughing at me as I say that into this microphone, but I think a DQ would have been warranted. But the only thing is, I think you should have done it right after the race. I think it would have been hard to do it um, on Wednesday. Honestly, not even a DQ. Not even a DQ. I'll take that back. I would say a 2 lap penalty, just like it is for anybody else who right hooked. Um, you know, Bubba right hook Kyle Larson uncalled for. He was out of the race. His car was undrivable. Then he gets suspended. Chase Elliott last year at Charlotte, I witnessed that with my own eyes. There at the track, he gets his car was about undrivable. I think he got a 2 lap penalty and a suspension. Austin Dillon, of course, doesn't get the suspension, but he gets his playoff berth taken. I think that's a bigger deal than a suspension for him. I really do. I think and also owners points too. That's a big difference in payout. So, he's not eligible for the owner series playoffs as owners points playoffs as well as a part of this suspension. So, unless he goes out and wins another race. So, I think all those props to NASCAR for handling this in this way. I know I have some people listening that are going to disagree, and that's perfectly fine. That's what makes this my platform good. Any platform at all good, as we can disagree. I still appreciate you all listening, but I'm giving my opinions, and I know some of you will disagree, but that's fine with me. Um, I Back to NASCAR's decision. I think it was very much a decision that had to be made because, like I said, it would turn into a demolition derby, a melee, if you would. I think, if you were close, well, not even close to a guy. If you're 50 car lengths back in the final corner, you need to win to get in the playoffs. Now we're not going to see this anymore. I'm quite confident in that. So it was dramatic. It was entertaining. Gave us all something to talk about. But I'm glad to leave it in the rearview mirror. I'm glad NASCAR had the guts to lay the law down. I saw RCR said they were going to appeal. I don't expect that appeal to be won. I could be totally wrong, but I do not see them winning that appeal. So we'll see what happens there. Another thing, man, golly, RCR, they've kind of got on my nerves the last couple years. I mean, with the Austin Hill, Sheldon Creed thing at Martinsville last year, Richard Childers in the media center after this race, telling people not to believe everything they read on the internet when they have the audio of the spotter telling Austin Dillon to wreck Denny. Just all those things adding up, it's just annoying to me. I mean, I don't know why. I mean, I like Kyle Busch. Um, I've liked Kyle Busch for a while, but just I just don't understand that. I don't understand how you just see things one way. I'm giving my opinion on things, but I can see, I give my opinions, but I can at least see other sides of things. I don't feel like the RCR camp sees anything else any way but their way. I think that's a problem. I think that, that could be leading to their performance issues that they've been having. That's just the truth. So we'll see. I was displeased with that. I mean, we have the audio right in front of our faces as he's saying you can't believe everything you see on the internet, and the media members trying to correct him in the media center was a funny thing. So uh, we'll see what happens. As far as racing on the track, before the penalties were announced, I thought, man, this could get interesting. But then I realized, Austin Dillon doesn't run definitely as good as Denny usually does, or Logano lately. So I don't know what would have happened. But now, I'll be shocked since the penalties were so severe. I'd be shocked if we had run-ins with those guys. Maybe Logano still will. You never know, but we'll see. I'd be shocked if Denny retaliated, unless they were battling for a win, of course. And I don't think he would just completely dump him. I think, Denny would maybe lean on him, or maybe I think lean on him would be as far as he'd go. I don't know. I'd be shocked if he did anything more than that, but we'll see. It makes interesting storylines. Going into the meat of the season. I mean, we're a couple weeks away from the playoffs starting. Like this year's flown by. The Olympic break, uh, you know, lit a fire back under me. I hope it's lit a fire under you all. Um, like I said, I took my Olympic break a little early. I just got a little bit burnt out on the effort it takes to make a podcast while also working, all the time, and spending time with my children, and you know, taking care of a home. I kind of got burnt out on all of it. Not burn out on life in general, but just burn out on sitting down for a couple hours and having to edit a podcast and, give my thoughts on things. But I'm back now. I'm ready. I took the 2 weeks off, obviously, that we didn't have a race. And then 2 weeks before that, I thought giving me a month to just kind of chill out and then get back at it going into the meat of the season. These tracks coming up are my one of I mean, they're all awesome. You got Michigan, Daytona, Darlington. I mean, those three right there, I think will put on phenomenal races, and then we start the playoffs. So it's a fun time if you're a NASCAR fan. More drama to unfold for sure. And we'll see what happens. But thank you all for continuing to listen. I saw before I sit down to start recording, I never look at my numbers until I go to record another episode, and you all have still been listening to even some older episodes and the most recent one. So I really appreciate that. And while we're talking about listeners and stuff, I want to take a minute. I usually don't do this, but I had a guy, uh, you know, a former listener of the pod now, sadly, a guy named Jason. At he was set up. If any of you all go to NASCAR races to get diecast, uh, Mead Motorsports is the place to go. While we're talking about it, that's where I get all my diecast at. Way more affordable than going to buy them at the haulers or anywhere else. But Dennis Mead would have a guy set up with him almost every week at these NASCAR races, and his name was Jason, and he would build these beautiful NASCAR display cases. I've got a couple in my living room and in my man cave area, if you will, but um, just beautiful cases. I've got a Denny Hamlin one. I've got a Kyle Larson one. I've got a Noah Gragson one, and Noah actually had a case custom made by Jason that had Noah's car in it, Richard Petty's and Dale Earnhardt's, I think. Me and Noah were talking about it the last time I talked to him, but you know, just an all around great guy. I told him about the podcast one time last year as I was buying a display case off of him, and he said he would be sure to tune in. And so, anytime we lose a listener, um, I really want to take a minute to touch on that. I hope it's something that I don't have to do ever again. Um, but I wanted to take a minute and just say thank you to him for, really enhancing my diecast collection, because, I would have him. I mean, I had him make uh, a Denny Hamlin one. It's got Denny's picture in it. It's a beautiful case. And then I've got a couple Kyle Larson ones, one with a helmet in it and his diecast car. But just he did a great job, phenomenal work. He could make anything you wanted. He had even like display cases as big as fish tanks that he would pick a driver. Say you wanted Kyle Larson, he would put little 164s in them, and it would be like cars throughout his career, like random schemes he raced, from trucks to Xfinity to Cup to current day, just awesome stuff like that. So, we lost a good one for sure, and I just wanted to take a minute. He's been weighing on my heart today, so pray for him and his family, and Dennis as well. Those guys are awesome. Every time we go to a NASCAR race, definitely got to stop. We look to see the location of where Dennis is going to be because we know he's got the best deals on diecast. So I definitely wanted to touch on that. Now, on to uh, I would say more happier things. We're going to get into Michigan. Um, last year I went to this race. Me and my son did. The first time I had been to Michigan, well worth it. I think it's a track that if you want to go see high speed action, the speeds at Michigan are up there, and it's a very nice track, multiple grooves. Last year the finish between Chris Buescher and Martin Truex was awesome to see. We sat through a weather delay last year and went back on Monday and got to watch the race. So had a blast, good memories, and this year I think it'll be the same. And I was going to touch on Xfinity Series because they come back this week, but before we do, the Truck Series at Richmond, my good friend Daniel Dye texted him Friday night after he made the clinch his playoff spot. I love you, man. You're doing great. Like, you are doing insanely good. Second year in the Cup Series, or the Truck Series. I'm sorry, second year, and this man is in the playoffs, and he is kicking tail. His team is doing a great job. Christian Eckes, Tyler Ankrum, Daniel Dye, all in the playoffs. And as the points reset, he's only 2 points out from the round of 8. So I think he can do it. I hope I get to join him in Bristol. We'll talk about that when that time comes, hopefully. But I think he's got a great chance to advance on. He's been fast all year long. I don't think he's got the respect that he is deserved, but he's been fast all year, consistently top 5, top 10 speed. Might not always have the finishes, but they have been consistently fast. And they go to the Milwaukee Mile next. So I think that's next weekend or maybe 2 weeks from now, but they're off. Daniel made the playoffs, huge for that team. Shout out to him. He's doing great things, and I'm super glad to be a part of it. And now on to the Xfinity in which he is racing this week. He's in the 10 Kaulig car. We'll see here. I wanted to see what time the Xfinity race was on Saturday. Saturday at 3:30 is the Xfinity race, and then 2:30 Sunday is the Cup. Let's see. I'm gonna go ahead and make my predictions. Like I said, the trucks are off this week. I think Xfinity. I think it's wide open this week. Honestly, Michigan is a track where, obviously you got to be fast. You got to be fast at every track, but I think Xfinity wise, man, I don't know. I don't even remember who won this race last year in Xfinity. I'm trying to think. But I want to go a little off the wall here. I wouldn't say it's too off the wall, but I like Riley Earps to get in victory lane in Xfinity this week. I just have a hunch. I think he's been very good this year, and I like his chances. Noah Gragson in the 30 will be someone also to look out for. Daniel Dye in the 10. And then all the junior motorsports cars are all going to be guys that I could see going to victory lane. The Cup, I've really struggled with picking a winner on the Cup Series. Just because, Michigan is kind of like a mile and a half, but at the same time, it's not. There's multiple grooves. I don't, Tyler Reddick has been fast everywhere this year, I feel like. I think he's due to get back in victory lane. So I'm going with Tyler Reddick. I want the 45 of Tyler Reddick. I think he comes in with the 5th best odds. Denny is the favorite, which, he hasn't won in Michigan in a minute. So that kind of shocks me, but The 11 car's fast every week. I mean, we know it. The 11 and the 5 are the two favorites. I'm going with Reddick, though. I think Kyler Reddick, speed is going to eventually win out. And that team, especially this season, has done a phenomenal job of being fast at every kind of track. Finished third at Richmond. And, everywhere we are, it seems like he's in the top 5, top 10. So can't go wrong. I'm going with Mr. Tyler Reddick to get the win at Michigan for 23-11. So, got an episode in, first one in a month, I think. But I'm fired up, I'm ready to go. NASCAR has sucked me back in. It didn't take much, just right rear hooking my favorite driver for the win. And it's funny how that always has a way of happening. But I thank you all so much for listening. It truly blows my mind that we are now approaching 2,000 total streams. It's just crazy to me. And like I said, we've talked about this before. That's not a lot to some people, but to me, it's 999 more streams than I ever thought I'd get. I mean, I love the fact that even though I'm not recorded, y'all are still listening. That means the world to me. And now, hey, you got fresh new content, so keep streaming it. Spotify has the rights to my podcast, or this podcast and my other one, but they have done something funky with recording this. They make you use some kind of app now, so I hope that the quality is as good as it was before. Now since I'm hooked up to my mic and my headphones. But if it's not, just text me or comment on the podcast link on Spotify or anything else, and just let me know. But hopefully this works out good. It's the first time I've ever used this app, but we're going to be using it from now on, it looks like. So thank you all for listening. I hope you all enjoyed this. And if you disagree with my opinion, hey, let me know. I know some of you all will. It's probably the same ones that have asked me where the podcast has been the last couple of weeks, but I just explained to each and every one of y'all that, taking some time. And we did that. We're refreshed. We're ready to go in this back end of the season, get the playoffs going, and look forward to seeing who the champion is at the end of the season. So thank you all for listening. This has been JD Talks NASCAR. We're available everywhere, folks. We're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music. And real quick, I was looking at the statistics. To my listeners in Brazil, the UK, and maybe Cameroon, who knew we had NASCAR fans in Brazil? Shout out to you all. If you all are listening, thank you for being here. Continue to listen. I hope that this has been good product for you, and that you all enjoy it. There is a Brazil NASCAR series. Daniel Suarez won a race in that a couple weeks ago while regular NASCAR was off. I did forget about that. So there's obviously some interest there. But thank you if you are listening, and anyone else. Those are the countries that popped up for listen numbers. So thank you all so much. This has been JD Talks NASCAR. I really hope you all have enjoyed this episode, and come back next week as we recap Michigan. Thank you all.